How are you, folks? Enzo DiCostanzo, clinical professor of economics and finance in St. Peters, New Jersey City. And today's October 30th, so it's the day before Halloween. Right? I think there's some religious significance to a whole set of these days, All Saints, All Souls, and all that. So for the religious historians out there, feel free to hit that. So let's get to Blackboard and talk about the next 6 weeks of the course, the final exam, and schedules, and all of that. So I picked the 410 group page, but all the other ones are just like this. So so all the Mondays are going to be YouTube days from here on out, and I think you guys are used to that at this point. And I think you like having the video support, and then we have the live meeting the 2 days of the week. It certainly helps with me with taking care of mom. And I know we have the Thanksgiving week is the 21st. And the last week of school is the 12th, and I'll get back to you on. But I'm leaning towards those being because they're not listed here; they're listed down at the bottom here. All these other days, this is tomorrow, and all these other Mondays. But these are the two sort of vacation weeks. So the 12th is the end of the course. So we're leaning towards those being YouTube days. So assignment number 7 is the last assignment for the main course. And there's no Excel that's involved in this. So it's an ordered assignment of a Home Depot annual report, and you have to find the 2 accounting reports in there for the internal controls and the financial statements. And it's like 2 or 3 pages. The report is 85 pages, but it's 2 or 3 pages of reading. That's a good size report. 100 pages is a good size report. JP Morgan and Bank of America, they have 200 and 300 page reports because of the financial complexity of those companies. But Home Depot they're selling plywood and hiring. I was surprised. I looked up how many people are. It has 500,000 associates, or 500,000, however it is, 500,000 employees, or however it is they say it. But I was surprised that there were that many people that were employed there. And actually, I have a student from long ago, a number of years ago, who I sort of fell out of touch with. I forget her name at this point, but she worked there. And actually, I was there returning something this is about 4 or 5 years ago. And she says, "You teach," because I had my ID card. Instead of my license, I showed her my ID card. It said St. Peter. She goes, "I know you. I'm trying to take your economics class." And then we kept in touch for a little bit. But it was before the pandemic. So I think after the pandemic, we all sort of lost touch with whatever. So anyhow, but there's an assignment due. So take advantage of that. The final exam, and this, I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody or anything. I'm just saying you guys need more rigor, not less. And that's true of all 80 plus of people, regardless of how well everyone's doing. There's very many people doing very well in the course. So the final exam will be personal consumption, which is the main driver of the economy. And you have to understand what that is. And the project will be due on the 19th. This will be Excel intensive. Assignment number 7 has no Excel at all. It's just reading comprehension and reading the 10K, and that's it. This has a lot of Excel. No graphs in this, but it's sort of modeling, which I pushed to the end. And this model is not that long. So the personal income model is 50 lines. The GDP model is like 25 lines, and the employment numbers can be long. Some of those models can be a little bit lengthy, but this is a reasonable model. And we'll look at the annual numbers, monthly numbers, quarterly numbers. We'll read. I've got 15 Wall Street Journal articles I have already outlined, and we're ready to discuss those the remaining 6 weeks. It'll be a macro. It'll be some macro commentary for the rest of the course. Okay, so we have all of these Mondays off, or not live sessions, but you're doing it on YouTube, which this is one of the sessions, and then these other 2 Mondays most likely. So it'll just be every Wednesday and Thursday that we have is certainly not Thanksgiving, but 23rd and the 24th there's no class, and then the last day of classes should be the 12th. So for us, it'll most likely be the 8th, okay, of December, and then this is due on the 19th, and you'll have plenty of time to work on it, and we'll piece it together as we go along. Okay. So this is our last tax video. See, assignment 6 is there. So we already emailed you about that. So we're pretty much ready to go. Okay, so here it is. Personal consumption expenditure. It's an estimate for the total personal consumption expenditures compiled by the United States government monthly as a way to measure and track the changes in the prices of consumer goods over time. PCEs are household expenditures. So personal consumption expenditures are household. So what you buy for your house, washing machines and vehicles, even bags of oranges, bags of potatoes, bags of apples, eggs, milk, butter, all that, walnuts. So this is now we're not going to cover personal income because again, personal income is a gigantic time sponge. I've taught that model too in past years, and it takes very long to teach that model. So we'll just teach the personal consumption version of it. There's an index also. We keep hearing about the White House press secretary and this person, that commentator, and what MSNBC thinks about the price index, about inflation. And this is the one that the Federal Reserve looks at. And just as we're speaking here, I'll show you my version, sort of my finished version of this is here. And actually, let me make this a bit bigger like that. So yeah, so if you look at the Department of Commerce's website, we have these some of the indices are here, and some of the expenditure models in terms of dollars, and you have indexes in here, so the percentage change table. So we have a bunch of tables here that we're going to get to over a series of videos that we're going to hit. This is the same set of notes that we're going to talk about today. I'm just going to talk about them in the Word document. I'm going to talk about them here as opposed to talking about them here. So I just want you to see the model. See, this is the monthly model. You can see personal expenditure, goods, durable goods, services. You can measure this in US dollars. You can determine deltas, the dollar changes. You can convert to percentage changes, month over month, and annualized changes and actual annual changes, year over year changes. And then you have indices that we can use to determine inflation. Okay, so and we'll go through all the pieces here. So this is real personal consumption expenditure by major product type. So you can see there's not a lot of detail in here. When it's chain dollars means there's a reference to your price kind of a thing. It's not nominal. This is chain dollars, and these are month over month annualized changes. I think this is where the inflation numbers are. But you can see we highlighted some numbers here. In 2021, we had, what was that, 77? Yeah, and the goods percentage change from 1 month to the next was 77%. Yeah, from January 2021 to 2020, when the election was about to turn over. So you had 218% in March. So the big successful president that we have now, that's what the results of their policies. It's really the policymakers that are. Biden's the figurehead. It's the policymakers behind him that are pitching these ideas that we're not energy independent anymore, so everything's going to cost more. And how can that be good? How can that be good? Okay, it can't be. Okay, we're going to discuss these numbers and the things that happened over the years. But these are 2021's numbers. But it looks like, I'm just trying to let you guys see what it looks like. It looks like this. These are the dollar changes from the preceding month. These are price indices. Where actually, this is the reported inflation numbers, and you can see it was sort of gradually bumped along. This is the price index as opposed to the dollar changes in consumption. So you're actually looking at these. That big 77. Yeah, these changes were actually this wasn't inflation. This was the dollar changes in personal consumption, which rocketed in January of that year. But this is the index, and an index is basically a number. An index is basically a series of numbers that I'm trying to find the right terminology to tell you. It's a series of numbers that models what's happening with personal consumption expenditures by taking out the dollar measure, the euro measure, by taking out the specific currency that it's in, and just using a number that is, as it goes up, we're having inflation. As it goes down, we're having deflation with these personal consumption expenditure indices that are it's price measurement, not quantity measurement. So it's mathematically modeled to communicate to you guys how prices are increasing as these series of numbers increase, and by taking the percentage changes, you're supposed to be mirroring. Without you measuring it in dollars, the economists have measured it in dollars and then converted to just pure numbers. The behavior of inflation or deflation in the economy. That's really what that is. Yeah, that's a good definition. So anyhow, look at this. So it started to bump up in 2021. I think I sent off warning bells here. I said, hey, there's a problem. This is when I said, when I saw these numbers, I had a feeling we were headed this way, and we are. And it's lower a bit, but it ain't that much lower. And again, by releasing strategic reserves of oil barrels or whatever, clouding the real behavior of these numbers isn't very good. Trump never believed the Labor Statistics Bureau and the employment numbers, and he never believed any of that stuff. So anyway, these are some of the changes here. These are the annual, and again, we'll get into this, but some of these are the annualized changes, and This is percentage change from preceding period for personal consumption expenditure. So yeah, some of these measure the dollar measures, some of them measure the index measures and things like that. Knowing how the index changes just as a pure number doesn't really do anything for you. The percentage change has some meaning, but just the number moving doesn't mean too much. So just keep that in mind. One second. Yeah, so looking at this, you have the and some of them are nominal changes, some of them are real number change. So, like I said, but we're going to discuss this across many videos. I'm just pointing you guys in the direction. That's the monthly model. This is the quarterly model. And actually, today we're going to work on the annual model, which is sort of the simplest one. You can see just for the year what it's in the tens of trillions of dollars number. You can see 09, it dipped a bit. This is just after the Great Recession in 09, some of the measurements there. And then 2010, it started bumping up again to 11 and 12 trillion. And now we're up to about 15. But again, is this inflation influence or is it, a quantity influence? If all we had to measure was sales of oil, you have barrels of oil and how much we charge per barrel of oil. Think of it in that manner. You have an index that follows how the price behaves in the market, and you have an index that follows how the quantity behaves in the market. So is it more barrels? Because this number is a summation of the product of price times, barrels of oil. So, $100 times how many barrels of oil you sell. So if you sell 1 barrel of oil, it's $100. 2 barrels of oil, it's $200, and whatever the number is. Tens of millions of barrels times $100 is what this number is going to be. Now, again, is this number changing because of quantity, or is this number changing because of price? Okay, that's what we need. And again, and actually, with the annual model, you don't have to go bananas with these, converting the percentage changes to annual numbers. You're just going to take the this year's consumption minus last year's consumption and divide by the old number and get a percentage change, and that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3 tables. Yeah, because this is the nominal one. The first one's the nominal one, and then the next one is a chained one. The chained one means it's inflation adjusted. Or really, there's a base year in prices, which again is an inflation adjusted measure. Whoops! Everyone's texting me. I told people I was making a video. So yeah. Sorry. And also with the annual models here, you can see there's a little more detail. It's not just durable, non-durable, and services. You can see you have 4 subcategories here. You have a couple more another 4 subcategories here. You have gasoline broken out, clothing and footwear broken out, recreational goods and vehicles broken out, motor vehicles and parts broken out, transportation services, healthcare. There's 6 of these, and some of this other stuff down here. Final consumption expenditures of nonprofits are broken out, and then sales of goods and services by nonprofit institutions. So we break out because that number it's not insignificant. It's about $1 trillion. This whole not-for-profit, folks in Newark. You guys probably aren't very familiar with this, but see, the universities in Newark are built where they're sort of on the edge of the downtown, like the northern edge of the downtown, and they push out westward, sort of towards Seton Hall. And Central Avenue is like the main road that sort of is the northern boundary of the University Heights area. So as you go westbound on Central, you'll hit Rutgers, St. Michael's Hospital, NGIT, and really the area was a lot of body shops, a lot of garment facilities where people were sewing pants and suits. The Italians, and 100 years ago, whoever was in Newark, and that was the labor 100 years ago in Newark. And you had these big square footage of floor space of facilities. And there's a facility in Newark that's called Catholic Charities, a good well-intentioned, good goals, but I swear there's a facility or a building that takes up an entire city block of Newark. And it's all Catholic. It's most likely warehouse space for Catholic Charities and maybe some sort of administrative stuff that's down too. But it looks like a warehouse, and it's a whole entire city block that's dedicated to. So Catholic Charities is I don't say they're very prepared for sort of what we're seeing in society today, but certainly they're there. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is the not-for-profit is not a minor little piece of the economy. It's 10% here. You'll give this 10% in terms of services. So anyhow, residual is for models. And again, anytime you have something where you have chain dollars versus nominal, you have a statistical sort of error term. That's what the residuals are. And then you have these main indices here where personal consumption expenditure, excluding food and energy, energy goods and services, is about $500 billion. Maybe this is a different way of measuring personal consumption expenditure. It says market-based, and then market-based excluding food and energy. So you're so you can see though, these two, the first one and the fourth one, are about $1 trillion apart in terms of measurements. So again, how we adjusted for inflation and what we measured is, again, not insignificant. But we're not going into those details in your courses. But if we were doing a more advanced course, we would go into that. Okay. So looking here, yeah, and then like I said, so you're gonna have the dollar changes, and like I said, we're gonna get to all of this. But like I said, tonight though, after I speak about the article and after I speak about personal consumption expenditure, we're going to work on some of these models a little bit, at least how to look things. And actually, we could even just do it right now. Not work on the whole thing, but it says BEA government right there. So this is the United States Bureau of Economic Analysis, which is a subdivision of the United States Department of Commerce. Okay, this is a federal department, and there's a lot of links here. There's graphs here, press releases, people's emails and phone numbers, gross domestic product, personal income, international trade in goods and services, international transactions, and the most up-to-date versions of these things. And also, so I guess the third quarter advanced measurement for GDP is coming in at a plus 2.25%. So we're out of the negative area for the time being. And I suspect Q3 and Q4 will probably both be positive because of the holiday season. And then we'll see what the beginning of 2023 is going to look like. But, I think this is just a very temporary reprieve from what we're going to get hit with probably, by summer, I hate to say, of 2023. So we have personal income, which is a very big model, which we're not going to personal income obviously is what it sounds like. The different cash flows that people receive from real estate, from salary and wages, from transfer payments, from financial instruments, and being a farm, not a farm, owning a business, all the different ways people can sort of make money. Those are all sort of added up, and that's up a little bit. But again, is it inflation or are people more productive? All right, then the international stuff. Again, I know one of the courses is international that I'm teaching, but we're not going to spend too much time on these other two. But again, I could take each of these and teach a whole course on. That's 4 courses right here. That I 15-week classes. There's a blog here. So this thing's been modernized a bit. But you're going to want to go to Tools, Interactive Data, and just click on the first bit of this GDP and whatever it might be, and then just click on Interactive Data Tables, and you go to the second section. And you can see these are all, now some of these, here says percentage change. Some of them are computed for you, but I like that we compute. I want to get the data and make the computations ourselves, but we can also check against, some of these tables that are, the contributions thing, the percentage table changes from preceding period. We can make those computations, then check, and which is what we're going to do. We can see all these tables on this website. It's looking at, what do we have here? Here, this is 235. So this one. There's the data. Now you have to download it in Excel, not Google Sheets or something else. It's Excel, okay, which is why I teach Excel. All right, but there it is. Okay, and and I'm saying now this is just a picture basically. This is not interactive at all. But we make in Excel, we make it interactive. We can make an analysis. That's why we use Excel to do all this stuff. Okay, so you can analyze as you go along. Okay, but let's get to the definitions of this. So I made my notes here. What was I going to do with this thing? What am I going to do? I'm going to do an introduction to this stuff. And actually, let me do an introduction on this because there's a lot of stuff here. So this starts comparing it to the labor department's inflation measure, which is what's reported in the news a lot, but the Federal Reserve uses the United States Department of Commerce's version, and then some of this other stuff. So I'll redline it maybe to here or something like that. This might be a good place to sort of stop, because then I want to talk about the article. So okay, so so personal consumption. What is it? What is it? And what does it measure? So it's an estimated total personal consumption expenditures compiled by the United States government. Monthly is one way to measure and track changes in the price of consumer goods over time. PCEs are household expenditures: tires, bags of apples, bags of oranges, bags of potatoes, paint for the wall, a roof that you bought, and whatever, milk, eggs, water, your water expenditures, all that stuff. Anything you buy at Walmart, anything you buy at Home Depot, anything you buy at Target and Amazon, right? Those are all household expenditures. So PCEs, as well as personal income statistics and the PC price index, are released monthly by the BEA and the personal income and outlays report. And I think we just looked at that. Let's see. To the home page. Yeah, there's the current release here. Yeah, personal income and outlays report. Yeah, and this thing is whatever, 30 pages or so. And again, there should be a bar chart somewhere. I've gone through all of this and made sure that we can compute these things. But again, we're doing just a little introduction to this. I could take this personal income and outlays report and teach the course on it. I really could. Okay. But we're just going to do pieces of it. We're not going to hit personal income or disposable personal income or what any of those are. We're going to we're going to read some articles and try to, figure out some of the percentages. And that's kind of what we're going to do with this. So, the PCE supports the reporting of the price, the index, the PCE index, which measures the changes in consumer goods and services exchanged in the United States. And I mentioned the index when we were just going through sort of the introduction to today's lecture, where that index models and measures the behavior of the prices. Is basically as though it's an absolute number. There's no units. It's not euros. It's not yen. It's not Deutschmark. It's not whatever. It's just a number. As the number gets up, we have inflation. As the number goes down, we have deflation. So personal consumption expenditure is a measure of consumer spending. PCEs are one measure that is reported by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, along with the personal income and the PCE price index and the personal income and outlay report. PCE includes how much money spent on durables and non-durable goods as well as services. Okay, so this is really what, and we're going to define, the Department of Commerce defines what durable and non-durable goods are. It defines what services are. Services are you performing some sort of act that somebody can't perform for themselves. I can sort of fix my car. I can change the oil. I can fix a flat tire. Like I'm constantly running over nails and screws on 1 and 9, and I'm going in there with a pair of pliers and pulling those things out of the tire, then patching the tire. That I can do. I can't replace my own catalytic converter. I tried, can't do it. All right, actually, your car has 2 of them. At least my car has 2 pieces to that. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. But yeah, and you should never even if you're a paralegal, never represent yourself. Okay, you should always bring in somebody else to have a fresh set of eyes on what's going on, because anytime you have a legal issue, it's emotional. Right, even business transactions can get emotional, and you need a dispassionate set of eyes looking at something, saying, "What's going on?" You need that. So that's almost some of the best advice I could give you guys in this course, is that legal advice. So the PCE price index is the method used by the Federal Reserve to measure inflation. Okay, and it's based on prices from all households, corporations, governments, along with all the GDP. So these are all very, the personal income, gross domestic product, and personal consumption expenditures. These are all very intertwined measures. And again, it's 300 plus million people, plus however many other people interact with the U.S. economy, people buying things from France and these other places, and Brazil. So personal consumption expenditures are one of 3 parts of the personal income outlays report. We said that personal income is how much money consumers earn. Are the outlays are how much consumers spend. Okay, so this is the income piece, which is here. And this is the expenditure piece, which are the outlays. Well, it's not, I don't know how much I've never heard. I don't know. Characterizing myself as my accounting skill, but I don't really hear outlay too much. I hear in economics textbooks, but I'm trying to think in the accounting text. I don't hear about outlay too much. Maybe some people might say, hey, I see that in there all the time. But personal consumption expenditure is how much consumers spend, and personal income is how much money consumers earn. Okay. The index uses personal consumption expenditure component of the personal income and outlays report to calculate the price index, which is the Federal Reserve prefers this as their inflation measure. And we're going to look at these numbers. We're going to look at the annual version of this. And actually, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the annual report. So yeah, this is the and that'll be in another video, the nominal versus the real. But this is the nominal model, which is when you go to Walmart, what's the price on that bag of oranges? It's this number. The inflation adjusted number has a base year, so 2012 or something like that, and it's based on those prices. Okay, but the quantities that are sold today. And again, we're not really going to go into indices, but that's a whole other conversation. So again, there's so many things that we could teach you that I'm just trying to, in 6 weeks, and we did all the tax stuff, what we're sort of doing it. And people are still fumbling around with those tax tables. I'm a little surprised at that, but okay. I mean, keep at it. That's my advice, is keep at it. So yeah, so we'll have the delta dollar change, and then the conversion to percentage change. And then 3.6 is the real version. So it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so that'll be the part 2 will be that video, but we're gonna hit this. And like I said, actually, what we'll do, we're gonna do it here. What is this? Yeah, this is PCE. Okay, so yeah. See, I was gonna go over how to make all these tables and everything, but yeah, I copy and pasted it. But all right, maybe I'll scroll to the bottom or something. But this, folks, this is just typing this stuff. I mean, all of this is typing, center, typing, put a border. This is, making it centered, merging the cells and centering it. It's just that. I mean, to go over that stuff. And this here, I'm just copying and pasting. This stuff, when I download from the Excel from the Department of Commerce's website, I pick off all the titles, drop them off into a notepad, clear out all the formatting, and then drop in the text here, and then create my own formatting. And actually, with this stuff, we want this to be a little bit bigger. So what am I doing here? Yeah, 150. So people say, "Oh, I can't see it." Okay, so yeah, but this is all just copy and pasted. This is copy and pasted, and then I try to identify the tables. Now, table 10 is from the press release. These are monthly. Yeah, this is all monthly stuff. These are quarterly. Yeah, we're going to work on the annual stuff today. But actually, what I could do, I could even just sort of slide over. Yeah, because if you slide to the right here, we don't have anything. So here, I'll just do this. GX. And then we could work on that. I could just replicate, some of these things. This, and then you want to identify everything. You don't want to just start typing numbers, and you got to label everything and the years, and and also looking at this and seeing. I just noticed something here. These need to be altered or fixed. The year markers. Yeah, when you copy and paste, I anchored it from past years, and this all needs to be copy and pasted or fixed. Yeah, see, this is all broken for the time being. It's broken, so we'll fix that. But we're just doing 2 through 5, which is the nominal table. Actually, just while we're talking here, see this? I anchor it to GE 8, and the column is anchored, and the row is just 8 because you're not going to move out of that row. So that just takes 1 plus the year 2008, and actually, what we don't need here, we don't need all this extra. We don't need all the extra, and we don't need commas. We don't need commas here. This is just a number. Yeah, we don't need commas here. Control 1. Commas out of there. Okay. And scroll to the right and say Control R, and there you go. Right? Looks good. How it's supposed to look. And actually, what's my other one look like? Ah, these have commas too. How terrible. Here, I'm going to fix these just while we're talking here. And it's good you see how to fix a lot of this stuff. Okay, which is like that. And again, you reference that 1, and you don't need all those zeros. Just do 2 zeros there. And folks, don't be concerned about that you're losing any precision with these numbers. Microsoft Office Suite saves the number as it saves it. It's just what it displays. All you're altering is what's being displayed. So just keep that in mind. Okay. I'm just going to run down all of this. See, it looks a little bit better. I don't know what I was thinking, but we certainly don't need commas in any of these. This is my master file that you guys are seeing me work with now. And see, what happens is you're sort of repeating what you're doing. You don't need all those decimal places and all that stuff. You don't need all that. Even we're doing it like this, but you know what these numbers really should be? These numbers, yeah, we should be actually, do you see these indices? Actually, we have it on top, but we should know how many years. So we're doing with 15 years, 15, 16 years. Okay, but so we didn't repeat the indices every time. You should know how big your data sets are. That's just a little friendly advice. Yeah, actually, these are the index positions, and we just somehow we retyped the years here. And I'll tell you why. Because if you've seen the other examples, you have quarterly numbers and annual numbers or monthly numbers, and you've got to break those down into decimals so you can graph them. Okay. There. So we fixed all that. And actually, what I'm going to do, we'll slide back to the video version of this. I could have the whole thing sort of there, but we'll go and cut and paste. Okay. So now we can just carry forward or control right or R. Oh, yeah. So we cleaned up the headings a bit. But like I said, we're going to go into how to do all this. But yeah, right here. So uh, the index, right, in the report. So this is the third major component of the personal income and outlays report, which shows how prices are inflating or deflating. Okay, so right, there's three pieces up to that report: personal income, expenditures, and then the inflation measure. Okay. Which shows how prices are inflating or deflating. And the personal have been reported. Well, I didn't realize this. It says the PCE has been specifically reported since only 2012. Wow. Okay, so it's not since the 40s, like the Michigan survey, right? It's only since 2012. I didn't realize it was that of a new thing. Or in both current and chain dollars. Okay, fine. And then the personal consumption form is the base for the reporting of the index. Okay, the index is reported in two ways: comprehensively, all categories, and then excluding food and energy, which is supposed to be more volatile. And the core PCE is supposed to be a little bit less volatile. But as that moves, that's where people really get concerned. Okay, energy prices and food prices, okay, but then you start changing the price of aluminum and housing tiles and bathroom tiles and all that cement, right? We're concerned. This became the primary inflation index about 10 years ago, and the Federal Reserve started referencing it more when it makes its monetary policy decisions. Okay, it's comparable to the consumer price index. It also focuses on consumer prices. Other measures of inflation tracked by economists include there's a producer price index and the actual GDP. There's another index that's again constructed differently, but that's for a little bit more advanced courses. How personal consumption expenditures are measured. Like most economic breakdowns, they're split between consumer goods and services. Okay. BA reports the total value of personal consumption expenditure collectively every month. It's broken down by goods, durable goods, non-durable goods, services. Okay, and here's some of the definitions. Durable goods are pricier and last longer. Washing machine. I read refrigerators about 20 years. The kitchen one is about 20 years old. The one in the basement's a little bit newer, but the gas range is about 4 years old. We have an air conditioning system that's supposed to be only a couple of years old and having a little bit of an issue with it. But okay, non-durable goods have life expectancy under 3 years. Gasoline in your car, your bag of oranges from Walmart, cosmetics, clothing. Well, I have suits that have lasted quite a while too. So. Tracking numbers, the BA uses the current dollar values of the PCs to calculate the index. The index shows the price inflation, deflation that occurs from one period to the next. So yeah, so you're looking at price inflation or deflation. All right. Like most price indices, the PC must incorporate a deflator, which we all, again, I've taught that in the past, but to compute the deflator, it's the ratios of the real GDP to the nominal. Then you make a statistical adjustment with it. So again, that's not something we're going to really hit in this course. But both the price index and the core price index shows how much prices of personal consumption measures have changed from one period to another, and the breakdown of the PCE price index shows the deflation or inflation category as well. Okay, so we will pick up here, with the part 2 video, so you guys have some idea about this. Okay, and the next thing I wanted to do was go to the Brainard article, which is here. It says she's one of the actually, she's the vice chair of the Federal Reserve. She warns on inflation, financial stability risks. So let's just go through some of her comments. So policymakers say officials are monitoring financial market turbulence as global interest rates rise rapidly. So again, we had a little bit, I think we looked at the federal funds rate recently. We had some notes on interest rates. So you guys have a little bit of idea about this, but a senior Federal Reserve official said the central bank was paying attention to financial tremors that could result from aggressive interest rate increases across the globe, but wouldn't pull back prematurely on its efforts to beat high inflation. So the key terms are central bank, interest rates, and inflation. So Fed Vice Chairwoman also warned Friday that additional unforeseen developments could drive prices higher, extending the pattern where inflation accelerates despite forecasts that it's peaked. The Fed is raising interest rates. So this was written. This was written September 30th. So we have a meeting coming up this week. We have a meeting in December. All right, and I think I have a set of notes that I haven't really showed the class yet, but we're butting up against 4%, and in the past, to calm down inflation, we've had to go beyond what the inflation number is in the market. So when inflation was 16%, we had interest rates of 19% 40 years ago. So you guys do the math. If our interest rates are at 4% and inflation is 8%, we still maybe have a way to go, which maybe not is great news, which is why, even though people are looking at maybe Q3 and Q4 as positive for economic output, but we may be looking at, a bumpy 20, I'll say it like this, a bumpy 2023. But it's raising them at a fast pace, which is never great, which generally does cause a recession. To fight inflation near 40, which is near a 40-year high. Risks of further economic or geopolitical disruptions that lead to greater supply and demand imbalances cannot be ruled out. I saw some notes on this in the Wall Street Journal, so I'm going to try to play that video for you guys. Oh, also, I sent out an email to you guys. I'm hoping... I'm hoping that I'm looking for, here it is, that you guys are able to play it, even though you may not be subscribers to the Wall Street Journal. This is I like this guy, Dion, I guess Rabineau. He's from the South. I think he's from New Orleans or something. So he's probably got a little bit of Haitian in him, which is great. Inflation has sparked record credit card debt, how things get messy. He's got about 30 videos up that are not very long, but again, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But he references a bunch of articles, and I think it's very good for you guys to sort of take a look at it. And actually, the credit card debt, I can look up consumer debt on the Federal Reserve website. I know where to look it up. So he's talking about it here, and this is recent. Today's the 30th. This is on the 27th. But see if these work. Okay, see if those work. That's some pretty good stuff right there. Okay. So yeah. Some of the imbalances of supply and demand are here, and actually with those videos, I saw the list of the topics. Yeah. There they are. Yeah, look, he's got all of them here, which is good. Yeah, even episode 1, crypto, stock market sell-off, housing, strong currency, bonds and stocks, big company performance, the Ukraine situation, the dollar and digital, treasury yield curve. So this is, folks, I'll tell you, if you spend some time on this and read through the articles, this is a very nice group of articles. I can teach all my courses with Wall Street Journal articles and data tables and graphs, and I can teach all my courses like that, which I kind of do. So real estate, housing markets, again, more crypto, companies re-offshoring, whatever that means. Okay, so, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. So take advantage. So resolving the imbalances by slowing demand with higher rates. But again, this is from the Wall Street Journal, so their ethos is that there's a supply-demand imbalance right now. So, but yeah, so we're raising interest very, very high, or at a very high clip, and there's geopolitical disruptions in Eastern Europe and Russia. and supply and demand imbalances can't be ruled out. And we'll get to, like I said, I wanted to focus on the central bank movement and the inflation numbers, but we can get to the supply and demand discussion also. And it says, by resolving the imbalances by slowing demand with higher rates, it'll be easier the more supply improves in the markets for commodities, labor, and key intermediary inputs, as is generally expected. So, so the Federal Reserve is hoping to sort of the natural science of this is that by altering, by having higher interest rates, you're going to slow demand, increase supply, and bring that equilibrium point, back into balance. We hope that that's what happens. But there's a risk that supply disruptions can be prolonged or aggravated by Russia's war, weed, and oil and gas shipments and things of that nature. With Russia's war against Ukraine, potential COVID lockdowns, and kind of weather disruptions, the Fed and other central banks are raising rates aggressively to prevent consumers and businesses from anticipating inflation to persist. So, again, the bottom line is trying to calm down and cool off economic activity and business activity. To have, to reduce inflation, to reduce demand, so to not have 6, 7, 8, 9% inflation, which and it's moving a bit, but I think it's artificially moving a bit. I think what the U.S. government is doing is clouding what those real numbers may be. That's just my opinion. But again, anytime you're reading about fueling self-fulfilling cycles of stronger prices, that may not be good news. So the Fed raised its benchmark short-term interest rate by 0.3 of a percentage point last week, to a range between so as of whenever this was put out, as of September 30th, we're between 3 3/4, but we should be looking at the 4 number, coming pretty soon, And it says officials are penciled in by lifting it a cumulative 1.25% by the end of the year. Well, this is the September meeting. We didn't have a meeting in October, so we have November, December. That's only 3/4 more. So if I'm hearing it, and then again, this is a month old or 30 days ago, which is about when this article was written. The predictions could have changed. Where we were looking at 1.25% by year's end. We might be looking at maybe 2%. Or at least maybe certainly hitting 4. 4 to 4.5, and maybe 5, but by December. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, the British debt markets, I really didn't spend too much time on the Bank of England, but they're purchasing unlimited amounts of long-term duration securities to prevent a broader fire sale of debt. So they're trying to influence prices and influence confidence in the English debt markets, is what that's about. Brainard didn't refer specifically to those developments, but she said the Fed was attentive to financial vulnerabilities that could exacerbate the advent of an additional adverse shock. Just as we can influence England and Europe and Germany, they can influence and impact us. So it works both ways. When inflation was low, the Fed and other central banks could respond to financial volatility by lowering their projected path for interest rates. But in the high inflation environment that we're in today, the Fed focuses on reducing inflation by slowing economic growth with higher interest rates, which is the point of why the central bank acts as it acts. The drive to tame inflation could set a higher bar for the Fed to deviate from its plans to raise rates. Monetary policy will need to be restricted for some time to have confidence inflation is moving back to target. See, the problem is monetary policy gets executed, and then the impact on corporate performance may not happen for a while. And then that's why we're concerned about next year. Because every time we raise rates, we're pushing that impact further into the future and further into the future. So when we started raising rates earlier this year, we'll say, we'll know how that worked by January, February. But what about the rates we're increasing now? That'll be next Christmas that we have a sense of what the impact on corporate performance was. So the more you do these big moves, the more you're kicking that football down the field to see sort of what the impact of it is going to be down the road. This is what the Richmond president thinks, that how persistent inflation has been over the year, was less concerned about the risk of the Fed raising. So yeah, and again, and the view of the U.S. central bank is that it's better to raise rates too much than we can lower them than to string out. The fear is having inflation run for too many years. It's already been a year and a half or so, and that's a lot to have, because it's constantly in the press. You're constantly being hammered at the gas pump and at Walmart and things of that nature. And the press, the White House secretary saying, "Oh, everything's fine. We have 0% interest," when we don't. I mean, what she was referring to was the month-over-month change in the summer somewhere. But that's completely deceptive the way that was presented. So, but yeah, so I'm more this, and this particular Fed president is more to the view that we've got to get this done than feeling regrets of moving too quickly. And there was, again, some sort of conference or something somewhere that he was. Prince William is I think in Virginia. So the Fed rate raises already slowing demand in interest sensitive sectors such as housing. Okay, it would take time for the full effect of the increase to work its way through the economy. I think I've said that. And monetary policy will need to be restricted for some time to have confidence that inflation is moving back to target. For these reasons, we're committed to avoiding pulling back prematurely. Now here's the thing, and people who know something about exponential mathematics. Okay, let's say we have 2 or 3% inflation next year, but prices, it's 2 or 3% relative to these high prices that we're experiencing now. So just because inflation might be 2% next year or 3% at the end of next year, whatever it might be, that doesn't necessarily mean that's good news, because if gasoline is $5 or $6 or $7 a gallon, you're saying, oh, well, it's up to about $5.25 as opposed to $5 or $6.25 as opposed to $6. That's not it. It's got the fundamentals have to go back to, I hate to say it, but go back to where they were from 17, 18, 19, and 20 is really what we need to do, right? And be energy independent was really what we need to do, and that'll fix a lot of things very quickly. So we're committed to avoiding pulling back prematurely. Okay. And then Brainard said that the coming Fed interest rate increases and an anticipated inflation slowdown will push very short-term real interest rates into positive territory. Well, yes, we'll see what eats away at purchasing power is very high inflation. So if you lower inflation, you're having a as Brainard saying, a positive real interest rate. So you're not impacting that. You're not having inflation have an outsized impact on your transactions, which unfortunately right now it does. We discussed federal funds rate and one of the other assignments, which can affect not only borrowing costs for consumers, but also shape broader decisions by companies, like how many people companies to hire, things of that nature. And here, and we're going to hit some of these. See some of these underlines, 6.2 and 6/10 and 4.9. We're going to get to where these four numbers, we're not going to do it today, but we're going to get to where those numbers came from. Okay, those are the monthly readings, and it's percentage changes and month-over-month changes and year-over-year changes and annualized changes. We're going to go through all that math, but not tonight. So, because we're going to do the annual model later. So, Barkin said the Fed needs to maintain positive real interest rates before it could stop raising its benchmark rate. He said the current level of rates also reflected market expectations that the Fed would keep lifting the benchmark rate, which influences borrowing costs through the economy. And there's something somewhere. I sent it to one of my guys. I copy and paste. I think it's an article after this that really had like 4 lines of really clearly explaining all of that. So yeah, so just reading it. It said, the PCE personal consumption measure index was again, this is August from a year ago, 6.2. The core version of this excludes food and energy from August relative to July, increase to 0.5%. This is that 0% that the White House was talking about. Obviously, it's very low. When you go monthly, if you have 6% from one month to another, you're really in trouble. Okay, some of this stuff is year over year. See this 4.9 from a year earlier, 4.7 in July. So July to July, August to August. But again, we're going to get to those percentages. But if you look at this 0.6% or 0.5% or something like that, then you add 1 to that, raise it to the, if it's monthly, raise it to the 12th power, subtract 1, then you get the annualized number. But we're going to go through the math for that. It's all that pre-calculus stuff. So Brainard devoted most of her speech to financial stability risks that central banks around the world could face as they raise rates rapidly, especially as many countries face high inflation. They may face added pressures to raise rates to prevent their currencies from depreciating, and as the Fed and others lifting borrowing costs. So you're worrying about the effect on your currency. Central banks are worried about the impact on borrowing costs. They're concerned about all that stuff. She cited risks that the countries with high corporate and government borrowing levels could see growing concerns about debt sustainability. Rising financial volatility also could spur financial institutions to scale back borrowing and risk-taking, which could amplify market volatility in and of itself. Liquidity is a catch-all term for the cost of how quickly converting an asset into cash, or how to liquidate an asset, how to sell it quickly. And certain financial markets could amplify financial shocks, and we'll talk about economic shocks and financial shocks and technology shocks in another video. But that's also, there's all good topics in here. I will try to make available to you guys this set of art. But we're talking about here. But here, you can even look it up yourselves. Here, it's right here. Fed's Lael Brainard warns of inflation. Wall Street Journal, September 30th. Look that up, and you can get it if it's your subscription or however it is. You can look in the old newspapers maybe, and if the library has them, hangs on to them. I don't know if they do or they don't. So yeah, and again, I didn't spend a lot of time on the Bank of England situation, but bond yields have surged. All right, so when bond yield generally happen in Greece and maybe happening in the UK now. So when a bond yield increases dramatically, there's capital leaving those instruments because there's not a lot of confidence that those instruments are going to continue to pay their cash flows. So what you're trying to do is, as the confidence leaks out of those instruments, and the capital and the dollars leave, there's less confidence in buying those instruments, and that's why the price is lower, because there's less demand for, just like the demand for a house or demand for a car or demand for a box of cookies. There's less demand for these government bonds, and hence if that pushes up the yield. So people are, if you're buying at a very low number and you're getting these payments, obviously you have a relatively nice looking return if these bonds pay out for the life of, if it's 10 years or 15 years or whatever it might be. But if it stops paying in a year or two, right, then the idea is that you came in at a low number, you got something, and that's the game that you're playing, in a sense, where you're looking for just a couple years or even maybe a shorter amount of time of cash flows, which is why you paid a low amount for these. As capital piles into these, you pay a higher price for those cash flows. As the price you pay to get into instruments increases, it shrinks your return because you've paid more for the same fixed cash flows. Again, I've explained that in many videos. I won't keep explaining that, but so U.S. regulators should monitor comparable instruments that would have the kind of distribution, the kind of leverage, and therefore the kind of implication. Okay, treasuries, mortgage-backed securities, those are the big instruments that the Federal Reserve sort of monitors. Okay, so there you go. So we talked about Brainard and what she feels a little bit, but there's a lot of good terminology that we looked at there. Now, here's what we'll do here. I gave you guys the sort of the template here, but like I said, all of this other stuff, this is just simply copying and pasting. So this is copy and pasted. This stuff is all you just have to sit there and do that. Okay, so here, let's get this data 235. Okay, let's get the data 235. Okay, so we're here 235. You're at the BEA site, tools, interactive data. Okay. And you click on personal income, you click on this piece of it here. And then you click on interactive data, section 2, because it's 235, and there it is. All right, personal consumption expenditures by major part type. And this is nominal dollars. Now, this is quarterly. You want to modify this, and you want to go back to 208. I think it's 208. You want annual numbers, not quarterly numbers, and we'll hit refresh. Yeah, 208. Now, you could just do this, but I don't want you to just start highlighting out of here. I want you to download this, hit download into Excel. Take a couple seconds. Go to the downloads folder. And open the table up by just clicking on it. And there you go. And you want to click enable editing. And now, obviously, it's a big effort to here, right here. Look at this. This is just the heading. It's the same heading. All I did was copy it like this. Control copy. I went to my notepad. Here, get to the bottom of this. Paste. Right there it is. Right. Cut it out. And just dropping it in here. Right there. And then you can change the font. You can do whatever. I made it whatever. Times Roman. I made the font a little bit bigger. You can bold things out. But that's it. And it's the same thing with the with these labels here. You go to the downloaded file. You copy all these things. Copy. You go into Notepad, drop them off, and this gets rid of all. You can get rid of the little footnotes. And now it's just you being fussy. Right, you don't need all this, and see all these tabs and stuff. You can just drag everything back. It's a little tedious, but see what I'm doing. So that's why I'm not going to spend time on the video doing it. And then you can alter things and change the, you you can change the tab on this stuff. See what's this household data. So here, let me just go back to this. Click on that. Get rid of that. Like I said, some of these have two. You can convert them into two lines, like the final consumption numbers. See, some of these might be a little bit long. So something like this, you might want to cut this in half, like that. A little tedious, a little on the tedious side, but worth it to have you focus your mind. Here's less, and you have to just go through everything. We're getting rid of all the tabs, and then you can retab everything yourself. This is the addenda. Get rid of that stuff. Okay. And like I said, then you got to clean. So you copy and paste this stuff. Do like this. Like that. And then just come down here. See, it's just for here. And I gave these a tab. I tabbed them here. Tab. Right, like that. Or you could change something. You could capitalize some of these. Then you cut this. You drop it in there. Right. Escape. Need some room someplace. Even like right there. See? Like that. I'm saying you put them in the appropriate, and there you go. And that's it. That's how it's all done. Like I said, so just me repeating that over and over again. And also in here in the internals, everything's formatted with the appropriate, numbers and all that stuff. We're going to work on that sort of together. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So and again, you want to break it down to pieces. So the first four on the durable goods, motor vehicle and all that stuff, that's what we're going to work on first. All right. So we're just going to be here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. So we're going to look at this. We're going to go to now again. This is durable goods, motor vehicles and parts, furnishings, recreational goods, other durable goods. Those four. So I shift down arrow and then shift control right. Copy all of those. Tab over right there and just do paste just the numbers because it's already formatted. So you can get rid of this. We don't have 20 because we're still in 2022, so you don't have it. So all you have is the 14 years of this is really what we have. Motor vehicle parts, so you have all those. And then you would sum 4 of them, right? That's it. And again, let's look back at this. So this is GF16 : GF19. So those 4 lines. Okay, that's all this is. You're just summing the 4 of those. Now, all the goods entries are durables, non-durables, all 8 of those. And we'll get to those. And also looking, obviously, I think you just saw it here. Some of these are cut a bit. Like the first one, here's food and beverages for off-premise. You could just go to that one directly in that table. Shift control right, copy, Alt H. Oops. Alt. Sorry. And we'll just go to paste the numbers. Folks, stand by, please. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so that was food and beverages. And then we're going to go to clothing. Escape. right there. So that's for durables or non-durables. So again, the same summation, comma in between. Right, there's your array. So you have 8 numbers of goods. Right, and now what you can do, you can copy this old HV formula. Oh, right there, you have about $3 trillion of the consumption number, just right there. Okay, and let's check 2264. 2264. And here, for that summation line, you could just sort of come in here and drop that off and just, without commas or anything, you could just check and say, oh, okay, well, how are my numbers doing compared to, so now you made these computations, but it's good, we're matching. They all, see how they all match, 228884, 2761, 2646. Okay. All those, and you can do the same thing with the durable goods. Okay. So now the top line goods number is the sum of these 8 blue entries. That's it. All right, about 3 trillion or so, 3.3 trillion. Yeah, 3. If you got to open these up a little bit and get rid of that order, you do it. Now, the unfortunate thing is you have to go through all these like this. So we're up to 5 trillion. Wow. And we were at 4 and 17. We're up to 5.5. So inflation has definitely had some kind of an impact on that. 3179, 3317. Yeah. 3518. Yeah, good. Yeah. Most of these match up. Okay. That's the goods part. And then we'll get into the tables at the bottom. Now it gets a little here, even the residual, we give, even since it's simple, we could just run down to the residual. Oh wait, actually, this one doesn't have, because this is a nominal, so this one doesn't have residual. Here, we can even go to the addenda down here. Okay, so again, so these are these measures, but just these are measures that again exclude food and energy, and maybe the methodology for the market base might be a little bit different for the standard version of this, or something to that effect. But here you have some just quick measures that at the bottom, when your percentage changes based on these years, you can look at it in terms of the years. Okay, so we have the addenda, the residual. We don't have to worry about it. And escape. All right. And here, see what says final consumption. Yeah. So with the final consumption of nonprofits, you would take the gross output number. You'd start with the gross. Page PV. That's just the values. And now the escape. And now the receipts number. Copy. HV. But here's what you have to do though with this, because see, what you want is the final number is the final number is the difference there. And so instead of subtracting up here, what you're going to do is you're going to say copy, shift control right, and then you're going to go to paste, and you're going to go to special, and you're going to say multiply, and just the values. So you don't take the formatting with you, and then hit escape. What you've done is you've turned the receipts of sales and goods and services by nonprofits into a negative number. So what are we doing here? So the gross output of a nonprofit serving households would be a trillion, or at least for this, whatever. Now it's a little bit higher. Yeah, now it's almost 2. So, and then receipts of the sales of goods and services by nonprofits. So yeah, so obviously, so someone up here bought all of this in some way, bought those services, and the government may pay for it, but someone bought those services. So you're netting out the number. You're just going to net out the number because you're trying to avoid double counting. So that's 287 billion. Yeah, 289, and then you go all the way across here like this. Control R, 465. Okay. So you have that. All right, so that's the little tougher part of this. And then the services piece here, utilities, healthcare. HDV. There you go. So is that 6 of them? 1, 2, 7. Other services and housing utility. Yeah, 7. So the household consumption expenditure for services would be these 6. R. And again, it's all formatted as accounting. Okay, the black font is a computation, the blue font is the inputs. And again, I'm not repeating that every single time because we spoke about that at the beginning of the course. Okay, and then the services number, the total consumption with the services number are those two. These 7. 6. There you go. That's all that. So yeah, so services up to 10 trillion, right? Yeah, 10 trillion. Okay. Now, no residual. The addenda is all of this just, sort of computed. And then the top line number, we're going to sort of do it the tough way. We're going to take all the blue entries. I'm just highlighting everything that's blue and these 2. And hopefully I got the right, 10 trillion. Yeah. Okay. And oops, here also. You gotta just double click and never leave it, where it's all crammed up like that. Never. I've had people do that, print it to me. And how do you give somebody something like that if you can't read the numbers? That's just ridiculous. Okay. So there you go. There's your now this was just the data. So now this is a model, right? So now what you can do, if you want to project a couple years in the future, you have a couple choices in terms of what you may be able to do here. Okay, you could take the dollar you could take the dollar deltas, take the averages, and project a couple years into the future. There's a lot of things you could do here. Okay, that kind of a projection basically just projects the slope of the positive line through the business cycle. It doesn't really compute the business cycle where you could have a little bit of a dip. Okay, we're not getting that out. You need a polynomial to do that mathematically, but this is here we're just modeling that straight line. The trend line is really what we're modeling here. The next piece of this says this is the dollar change year over year. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick on all of my blue inputs only. So I'm going to go to the first input is a motor vehicles and parts, and just subtract 1 in the next. So I'm down 24 billion. Furnishings, I'm down 26 billion. I'm down 30 billion for recreational goods and vehicles, and I'm down 5 billion for other durable goods. Okay. I can add these up and I can do all that kind of thing. Okay. And then food and beverages purchased. Check that. That went up a bit. Okay, you have all those. Okay. So in the gasoline down a bit. Funny enough, about 100 billion in 2009. So I don't know if we're going to see that too far too often. And then here you could just do the same. For durable goods. Actually, both of these you can say copy. All right. Non-durable goods number. See, you get close to these models very quickly. as you start to deal with them more. So you have all the 8 goods inputs right there. Okay, and what you can do just to see what you think about what you did here, you can subtract out the top line. Yeah, it's the same number, right? You see what this was the direct. We did the direct computation here. This is the summation of all the components. Now we get the same number if we directly delta or directly find the change, the dollar change from 09 to 08 for goods. Okay. And then for all the addenda down there, that's the same maneuver. That's all that is. Yeah, see, it's just these PCE, energy, goods and services. So this is down 100 billion, down 100 billion, down 50 billion. The residual, we have to worry about it. Yeah, this other stuff. Yeah, this is the same. Yeah, this is the same stuff. Yeah, that's the same right there. There's no difference there. This stuff, which is other services, 7. It's 07, which is, again, housing consumption numbers. These are here. Right there. There's that, and there's this thing. Okay. And then the top line under consumption is there. And what you can do to check that 159 is just subtract 2 sums there. Yeah, you get 159 again, right? So again, we did the same maneuver where you can subtract the top line numbers and get the same delta in dollars that the components gave you. This, you're just subtracting, right? All you're doing, you're taking the current year minus last year, and you're not doing percentages. This is just in dollars. And now that you've done all this crazy amount of work, you just do this deal. Control R. It does the whole thing for you. So in 2021, we're up about 2 trillion. 2020, we were down, a quarter trillion, 250 billion, or about a quarter trillion. Right, and during Trump's years, even Obama's years, right, this moved at a clip, a good 400 or 500 billion clip. 18 really good, 671. All right, 17 540. Okay, those are your dollar changes. Now, I think this is the last piece of this. Yeah, this is it, because these are already annual numbers. You want to convert these to percentages. So what you'll do, you'll take the delta, you'll divide it by the previous year's base number, and you'll get your percentages. See, so this negative 1.6, this was this delta in 09 divided by the 08 total in dollars, and then go all the way across like that. That's really the number you care about. You can look at the components with it. So you can see we were up. Even Obama's years, Trump's years, pretty good. Then obviously, you had a big bounce back in 2021 from the COVID year, and then you had a bit of a dip, a 2% dip and a 12% recovery. So the recovery was better than the dip. It took care of the dip and then some. Now here's where it gets interesting. You're going to take these formulas. Now all the lines aren't going to really be useful, but you're going to say paste formulas only. And then you'll go through division 0, delete, division 0, delete, division 0, delete, and these are all division zeros here, delete. Okay, so now you have the percentage change. Now you have the percentage changes for goods down 5%, services up 0.4%. Now these don't. It's not additive. So the 0.4 and the -5, they don't add up to -1.6. So the math doesn't work like that. Okay, so you have to really go individually. Okay, and then once you have that, then your last swipe of the magic wand, just Control R, and there you go. So you had a 17% increase in goods, a 10% increase in services in 2020. We had some, some up and down. So in 2020, the overall number went down 2%, but we were home buying more yogurt and buying more hamburger meat and all of that. So the goods numbers, they didn't go down too much. There's a minus 5% for something for other durable goods. So I guess discretionaries are down 5, but let's see here, this minus 26. Yeah, the gas. Yeah, we didn't drive as much. Gasoline was way down. Okay, clothing and footwear. We didn't need new suits or anything like that. So you can go through and sort of pick out, what's going on for the year. This minus 24. Yeah, we didn't go on vacation as much, and these three. But yeah, these food services company. We didn't do hotels as much. Right, so as you can see, you can start picking out what happened in the year by just looking at these percentage changes. This minus 15 was, yeah, and again, we didn't drive as much. That was down minus 15%. Okay, but there you go. So again, here, if you want to look at the math on this, right, it's this delta in dollars divided by the older number, and you do that across the board. Okay, you just do that across the board. Okay. All right, so you have the nominal model built, and like I said, if you want to project out a couple years, there's projecting out 10 years is just a math exercise. 3 to 5 years is, I think, a lot. I think 3 is very reasonable. Even 2 or 3 is enough. Okay, value line used to say 3 to 5 years, but I'll go with the 2 to 3 year projections. But there you go. So now the next time by major product type. We can do the real version, the annual. So this is 1, 2, 3 of these. So next video we'll do those 3. Okay. So like I said, you should give it a shot. And like I said, the rest of this is just simply, you want to put a border, just go to border. Yeah, there's your border. See, I made borders. You want to type in a number, format the thing. A number, you don't want commas, no commas. Center, you want to bold it, maybe make the font a little bit bigger, change the color to whatever, a red or something, right? You don't want decimal places. Excuse me, folks. You don't want decimal places. Delete. That's it. Right? You just do that a bunch of times. Okay, you should do that a bunch of times. Never use red. I'm scolding somebody. Don't use red, right, in one of the homeworks. So it was like 2 or 3 people. I was complaining about that. Okay, but there you go. All right, so next time we're together, we'll do the next version of this, and then we'll dream up some assignments for you guys. We'll dream up a final exam. We'll dream up a bunch of questions, maybe 20, 25 questions or so. You'll be reading a couple articles, and that'll be the final exam. Okay, so this again, we don't need this table any longer. There's legends down here, but yeah, you just copy and paste, drop into a notepad to get rid of the formatting, and that's it. And that's all you need. That's all you need to worry about doing with this. Don't worry about that. This is my master file that I just adjusted this to make it look much better. You're always fixing. It's never done, right? It's never really done, right? Especially and you're as artistic as I am and creative as I am. It's never really finished. So. Okay, folks, thank you. Hit the hit the videos and work it. Make when I say please don't wait until December to start doing the readings. I'll put the readings out there pretty soon, but don't wait until December to read the personal consent, because you're not going to make it. Okay, and I think some of you, hopefully some of you learned that lesson at the beginning of the semester, folks. Thank you very much.